Hello everybody. Salute. So, Bond films. Who doesn't love a Bond film? I love James Bond films. I love the books as well. So, let's talk a little bit about them. So, James Bond then, first created by Ian Fleming in 1953. First film came out in 1962 with the legendary Sean Connery. So let's work backwards through the Bond films and I'll put my favourites in order. So starting at the bottom then, to no one's surprise is Die Another Day, the stupid one with the invisible car. That film is so ridiculous and dumb that you can't possibly take it seriously. Pierce Brosnan's last film in the role, and just what a shit show that was. It was just awful. I saw that at the cinema when it first came out. Myself and my friend went to see it. It was terrible. Everybody just laughed at the film rather than actually with it. The whole second half of it plays out like a really shit Star Trek Voyager episode. I mean, there's people getting the DNA changed for an hour's sleep and laser beams coming out of the sky and crap like that. It's just stupid. One following down from that, Quantum of Solace. I cannot tell you anything about the plot of that film. I can't even remember the bad bloke's name in it. Daniel Craig's second outing. I think there's a car chase which you can't work out what's going on because the editing's all over the place. The plot's non-existent. The action is stupid and you can't see anything anyway because it's framed like a Bourne film, and I'm not really a big fan of Jason Bourne films. One after that, possibly controversial for some people, but I'll bear with me and I'll explain why. Skyfall. I hate that film. I really don't like it. The whole second half of the film, the plot just makes no sense at all. How did Crap Hair or Silver or whatever his name is know that Q was going to plug that laptop into that mainframe at that time? How did he know that this meeting where M was going to get fired was taking place on this day at this time? How did he work out where to plant bombs for a chase he didn't know was going to happen months in advance? There's just so many things wrong with the plot of that film. You could write a whole book on just how stupid it is. And Bond's genius plan is to go to an abandoned house, which may as well just be called Wayne Manor, because this is just The Dark Knight, only done really badly, with no backup, no weapons, and an old woman as his cover. I mean, does he really expect this to end well? Oh no, it didn't. Oh look. Following on from that, A View to a Kill. Let's put it like this: when your weakest movie in the whole series still features Christopher Walken mowing people down with a machine gun and laughing his arse off about it, that tells you everything you need to know about the James Bond films. Next on the list, but again possibly a bit controversial, The World Is Not Enough. As again, I saw that film at the cinema when it first came out. I saw it with my girlfriend who I went with out at college at the time. The boat chase is great. The scene in the caviar factory is pretty good. Apart from that, the rest of the film is just completely unmemorable. The plot has something to do with oil pipelines and controlling the world's oil or something, but it's not really very clear in the story at all, and it's about some mad woman. When I first read that Robert Carlyle was going to be the bad guy in that, I thought, oh god, Begbie versus James Bond, this is going to be brilliant. No, completely useless villain, rubbish, unmemorable, not great. Next one, Tomorrow Never Dies. Again, a film that has absolutely nothing to merit it in terms of memorability, if that's such a word. Michelle Yeoh is pretty good because I like Michelle Yeoh, but the actual, apart from the music by David Arnold, the movie's just not very good. It just doesn't hang together very well. Then next one, No Time to Die. I'll give it this: the actual action scenes and the story up to the end point is pretty good. Apart from that woman who's supposedly 007 and Anna de Armas or whatever her name is, she's really fit. But the end of the film, just no. They just completely missed the boat on that. That was a horrible misstep, and I don't know how they're going to come back from that. You know, is Bond going to wake up magically and say he survived in the next film? I won't say any more than that if you've not seen it. Good music score by Hans Zimmer, but that's about it. Next one, Never Say Never Again. Sean Connery's last unofficial outing as James Bond. Some great dialogue in that film. It just feels very kind of tired. It just feels kind of played out. There's some, again, like I said, there's some great lines. There's a fantastic motorbike chase, but it's just a remake of Thunderball. Which leads us on to The Man with the Golden Gun. Again, fantastic car chase. Roger Moore being really kind of dry and cynical throughout. Everybody in that film seems to be in a bad mood. Everybody just tells Q to shut up, and M's really grumpy, and Bond's really in a bad mood. And there's one scene where he beats up this woman, which I don't like that part because I don't like that kind of thing. I just forward wind that through that part. But even Christopher Lee can't save it. Christopher Lee, Christopher Lee, he can't save that film, no matter how good he is as Scaramanga. One to watch on a rainy day, I think. Yeah. Next up, again, possibly a controversial one, For Your Eyes Only. The plot is based on a couple of the short stories, but if you read a book called When Eight Bells Toll by Alistair MacLean, the plot is virtually identical. And When Eight Bells Toll is a better film and a better story overall. If you've never seen that film, I recommend that you check it out. It's Anthony Hopkins' first major starring role, and it's a good film. It's about all this gold being smuggled aboard these ships, which keeps being sunk, and he's dispatched by the Secret Service to go and find what's going on. Notice how I said the plot's similar, because Bond has to go and find this decoding machine, which has been on a ship which has been sunk. The two films play out very, very similarly. There's a scene where they both have to climb up a big cliff. There's a scene where there's some scuba diving. There's a scene where there's some chasing around. Yeah, virtually the same plot. Next one, Octopussy. Possibly a little controversial. I actually quite enjoy that film. Great film score. I love the opening with the jet fighter. I think coming out the trailer, fantastic. The ending is a little bit small scale, but I do like Maud Adams in that film, and Louis Jourdan's a fantastic villain. Again, very underrated, I think. The bit where he's dressed up as a clown is, I can understand that he's having to do this as a cover, and I actually really enjoyed it when he's trying to unplug the atomic bomb. I thought that was really good. I think it could have been staged a little bit differently, but okay. Next one. This is my guilty pleasure Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever. I know Sean Connery looks about 90 in it. I know he's really fat and flabby. I know that the plot is completely ludicrous, but I really enjoy that film, just in a switch your brain off kind of way. I love the Mustang. That 1971 Mustang's fantastic. The bit with the car chase where it goes from one side to the other on two wheels, of course, yeah. I mean, Blofeld doesn't even make his demands himself. Bond and the Sausage King bloke, he says, oh, yeah, Blofeld said that he's going to hold an auction for nuclear supremacy. That's not really a world domination plot. That's just like a bit capitalistic, really. I don't think that's particularly strong, but overall, I love the jokes in it. Do you prefer blondes or brunettes? And as long as the cuffs and collars match and stuff like that, which Sean Connery came up with. He came up with that line. Really enjoy that one. Next one, Spectre. I know some people really hate this film. I thought it was a real classic old school Bond movie. Car with gadgets in it. Blofeld's in it, although Blofeld is not particularly great, and the whole plot about him being Bond's brother-in-law is like, fuck off. It's crap. But beyond that, good action. Overall, I thought the plot was pretty solid. They're trying to take over the world through getting people to coerce them and stuff. Pretty solid. And I love the car as well. I mean, I don't just go to a Bond film to watch car chases and stuff, but it is kind of like a big selling point of it because the action is the way it is. The next one, possibly again controversial, Casino Royale. That film is half an hour too long. Daniel Craig's first go around in the role. I think it's kind of overrated. Nothing really happens in it. And if you break the plot down, in fact, Le Chiffre even says, your government would back me even if I came to them with open arms while he's whacking Bond in the bollocks. Well, why didn't they just go to him and say, we'll give you protection and immunity rather than risk all this money going to this card game? It doesn't kind of make any sense. I don't think Daniel Craig's a good James Bond at all. I'd rather watch the Pierce Brosnan films on a loop over and over than ever watch any of his films again, to be quite honest. And I'm not the biggest fan of Pierce Brosnan. either, but that's just my take on it. Next one, bit of nostalgia for me, because this was my very first Bond film, was Live and Let Die. That was the first Bond film I ever saw. I was 5 or 6 years old. I sat between my dad and my granddad to watch it. The scene where the bus goes under the bridge and it slides the top of the bus off, fantastic, loved it. The whole scene with the boat chase at the end, again, that's taken from an Alistair MacLean film called Puppet on a Chain. Very similar, very kind of set up in the story. If you've never seen Puppet on a Chain, check it out. Really enjoy that film. But Yaphet Kotto's a fantastic actor anyway. I love him in things like Midnight Run and Homicide: Life on the Street and all that sort of stuff. Great actor. Next one, this is possibly going to be a little bit controversial again. Moonraker. Yes, I love Moonraker. It's a stupid, crazy, over-the-top film. Yes, I would rather watch Moonraker over any of the Daniel Craig films. Yes, you can put Crazy Man badge on me if you want. That film works as a Bond film. It works as a Bond film because you understand the plot and you understand the stakes. Yes, it's stupid. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, it's completely not nonsensical, but it's kind of a bit, what are you doing going into space? But I enjoy it, and I'll put my hand up to that. Next one, Thunderball. Vulcan Bomber, of course, fantastic. Sean Connery is really cool in it. Not a very particularly memorable villain, and at the end of the day they throw the atomic arming device for the bombs out off the side of the ship rather than Bond actually beating someone up to do it. Bit slightly anticlimactic, but overall good solid film. The next one, You Only Live Twice. The top draw, most fun Bond film that could ever be. Blofeld, he's hollowed out a volcano, he's got a tank full of magic piranha fish, and he's got a space rocket in his volcano. He wants to start World War III. He's doing a bit Dr. Evil. It's wonderful, it's a great watch. It's got John Barry's best score, fantastic, love it. Next one, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This one as a kid I didn't particularly care for, but it has grown on me over the years. The plot is really strong. It is virtually identical to the book. I do plan to do some reviews at some point comparing the books to the films. I can tell you that the further along you go with the films, the further away from the books they get. The Connery films, even You Only Live Twice, are very, very close to the books. You Only Live Twice is great, it's a classic, it's awesome, I love it. Next one, Living Daylights, Timothy Dalton's first go around in the role. Timothy Dalton plays James Bond exactly as he's written, and I love him. Timothy Dalton's fantastic in everything he's ever been in. I've never been disappointed by one of his performances. Fantastic in Hot Fuzz, fantastic in Flash Gordon. Can't fault the man's work ethic, and he's from Derbyshire, he's from Belper, good lad. Great film, check it out. It's Bond and Mujahideen versus a whole bunch of nasty Russian types. Next one, GoldenEye. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan's first run around. That was my first Bond film in a cinema. I was 13. I went with my friends to see it. We loved it. We loved the tank chase. We loved the action. The plot is really, really good too. It's based on things left over from the Cold War. Is Bond still relevant in this world? Is he going to still be a force to be reckoned with? This film proves that he is. Fantastic and a great film. Sean Bean, he gets killed. Sean Bean always gets killed. Sean Bean would have been a fantastic James Bond in his own right, because he really has got that kind of rugged look. But yeah, a good film. Really enjoyed it. Next one, The Spy Who Loved Me. My favourite Bond film when I was a little kid. I really enjoy that one. Loved the car, of course, Lotus. I had a toy of that. I begged my dad for a model of that car, as did my cousin, who begged his dad, my uncle, for a model. Had the little corgi car with the flip out fins and stuff. I think I've still got it somewhere. It hasn't got any paint on it because I've had it since I was a little kid, but there you go. Great plot, same plot as You Only Live Twice. The guy wants to take over the world. It's got Jaws in it. He's going to kill people with his teeth. It's got Barbara Bach, who's absolutely gorgeous. Can't fault it. Fantastic film. Next one, Dr. No. First ever Bond film. Sean Connery's great in it. He's not quite on form yet as James Bond, but he's getting there. Really interesting plot. Again, it's a world domination scheme. Dr. No says, I'm a member of Spectre and we're going to try and take over all these nuclear missiles to cause World War III and that sort of stuff. Very, very close to the book. The only thing that they left out was Bond in the book fights this giant squid. Because they just didn't have the money or the time to do that, then they couldn't do that sort of thing. But of course they had sharks and piranha fish and stuff like that later on. Actually, the thing You Only Live Twice, the tank full of manny piranha fish, that is taken straight from the book. Yeah. Next one, License to Kill. I personally think it's really underrated. I always really enjoyed that film. I think that Timothy Dalton is even better in that film than he is in the first film. If you want to see what Bond of the books is like and you don't want to read any of the books, shame on you, watch License to Kill. That film is spot on literary Bond. Robert Davi, fantastic villain. The great chase at the end on the tanker trucks. Just a great film all around. Really underrated. Really sad that it was Timothy Dalton's last go around in the role. I think he should have done 2 or 3 more films because I think he was that good. Next one, and we're into the top 2. Goldfinger. Not Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. What else can possibly be said but Goldfinger? Gert Frober as Goldfinger, Odd Job, the DB5 with the ejector seat. Sean Connery's awesome, shocking, positively shocking. You can't possibly go wrong with watching Goldfinger. It's the one that I always introduce new people to Bond to. If I sit down with them and say, do you want to watch a Bond film? That's the one I always go to because it's the Bond film. And then my absolute favourite Bond film, the one that I have not mentioned yet, From Russia with Love, my favourite Bond film, my favourite Bond novel. Sean Connery's perfect. I'm James Bond and I'm really in control, and all the ladies' clothes fall off whenever I speak. You know, it's a great plot. All he's after is a decoding machine, which is based on a real-life decoding machine. Everybody's after this, the Russians, the British, probably the Americans too. Extremely close to the book, apart from the very end of the book, which I will not reveal. You've got Robert Shaw as Grant and that fight on the train. My favourite Bond girl, she's really superbly lovely. I'm not talking about Lotte Lenya either, because she's a hag. Apparently she was a really nice person. Great one-liners, fantastic location on the Orient Express, a fantastic movie, my favourite Bond film, and I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. If you've never seen a Bond film, check them out. They're really awesome. Possibly the old ones are a little bit dated now, but I don't think you can go far wrong in terms of entertainment. I hope you have a really good afternoon, and I'll check you later. Ta-da.